If this is your first time here, welcome. We're glad that you are here. We are in a series currently called Miracles. How many of you wouldn't mind having a miracle in your life? Anybody in the room? Well, I want to just kind of say something that a lot of times these miracles aren't just the things that save you from life. It's also the things that keeps you going. There's this thing called a spirit of familiarity. This is where we take things for granted. I would almost bet, I'd literally almost bet that no one in the room literally woke up, sat up out of your bed and say, God, I just want to thank you for the breath in my lungs. I would almost bet no one did that this morning. Why? Because we take it for granted. That we get up every day and we're breathing. You take it for granted, the water that ran in your kitchen sink or in your shower this morning to brush your teeth or to whatever you're doing. You take it for granted that the heat came on. And I know that might seem minor, but that's literally the simple things that we just take for granted. And I believe God has something for you today, something very challenging. We're going to be talking about a miracle in the Bible that a lot of us have read about, but I think we've kind of overlooked what Jesus was trying to teach us. It's found in Luke chapter 22, so if you have your Bibles, go ahead and begin turning there. I'm going to give you plenty of time to get there. Luke chapter 22. And the miracle series is looking at how Jesus moved in ways only God could. That's what a miracle is. You look back and you say, only God could have made this happen. Only God could have gotten me through this. That's what we've been talking about. But today I'm going to look at something different. Now, this miracle that we're going to look at in Luke is the last physical miracle that Jesus did before he died. Now, I brought up the fact of the familiarity. What happens with the spirit of familiarity is that it binds us to what already is miraculous. It kind of just blinds us, it blinds us to what is already miraculous. And if you think about it, we overlook the miracles that are around us every single day, the things that are happening in our lives every single day. We just kind of overlook it because we're still looking for that one miracle. I think a lot of us, when we're looking for miracles, we're looking at like big, massive things like, somebody being completely healed of cancer, or maybe an arm or leg growing back, or maybe somebody surviving this car accident that you look at later and be like, there is no way that person should have survived that car accident. Those are the kind of miracles we look at. But there are a lot of other miracles that are happening in our lives today that we overlook, because they're just familiar. They happen so often that we overlook them. And when something becomes familiar, it's easy to minimize it. And then we start treating the miracle as if it's ordinary. Nice and quiet in here today. But miracles don't happen in a heart that's grown cold or complacent. Miracles happen when we're aware, when we're grateful and full of faith. It's actually called the miracle of preservation. And that's what I want to talk to you about today, is the miracle of preservation. That is when God keeps you through what should have taken you out. Whatever that is in your life. Now listen, I don't know what thing you're going through. I don't know what tragedy, what trauma, what adversity you've gone through, what you're currently going through, what you're going to go through in the future. But I want you to take whatever that thing is, I want you just to apply it in today's message. Because all of us in the room have gone through something that could have taken us out, but God kept us. That's the miracle of preservation. It's the miracle that is remaining. In Luke chapter 22, if you're there, say, I'm there. If you're not there, say, wait on me. Only one in the room. We'll have some grace for you, young ladies, since you were playing the keys up here, getting in late. I'll set it up so that way you can get to it. Luke 22. We're going to go to verse 45, so you can go ahead and skip to that. But here's what I will tell you. It was the night before Jesus was crucified. He's in the Garden of Gethsemane. He's praying, he's sweating drops of blood, and he's feeling the weight of what's coming. Can you imagine? Like, I think about this, and I think about the worst time in my life, the weight that I was carrying in those moments, really not just one time, but all these different times that I have carried the weight of whatever is going on in my life. And in my mind, I think it's like almost impossible. It's like I'm begging God to take it away. Like, Lord, why have you chosen me? I'm the man of the cloth. That's sometimes what I'll think. And then I look at this moment in the Garden of Gethsemane where Jesus is getting ready to bear the weight of every one of us in the world on him. And so he is just in agony, and he literally is asking, the Lord to take it away if it was his will, even though he knew he had to do this. This is that moment. And then all of a sudden he comes back out of prayer and he meets up with his disciples, and what are they doing? Sleeping. Of all things, sleeping. I mean, it's like this moment. And then we see Peter, they're getting ready to arrest him. Judas is coming. And they're getting ready to arrest Jesus, and Jesus does this last miracle. Let's pick up verse 45. It says, "At last he stood up again and returned to his disciples, only to find them asleep, exhausted from grief. 'Why are you sleeping?' he asked them. 'Get up and pray so that you will not give into the temptation.' But even as Jesus said this, a crowd approached that was led by Judas, one of the 12 disciples. Judas walked over to Jesus to greet him with a kiss. But Jesus said, 'Judas, would you betray the Son of Man with a kiss?' And when the other disciples saw what was about to happen, they exclaimed, 'Lord, should we fight? We brought the swords, we're ready to go.' And one of them struck the high priest's slave, slashing off his right ear. But then Jesus said, 'No more of this.' And he touched the man's ear and he healed him." I'm just wondering how many of you have really thought about this miracle, what it really means. Why did this happen? What was Jesus trying to teach us in this last physical miracle that he did before he died on that cross? This was the moment where Jesus was under the greatest pressure, and he does something very breathtaking, and that is he reaches out and touches a man's ear that was there to arrest him and to kill him, his enemy. It was his last physical miracle with someone who came to harm him. Why would he do that? I believe it's because in the darkest hour, Jesus was showing us the miracle of preservation. He was preserving peace, he was preserving purpose, and he was saving what was severed. There's things in your life that has been severed, but Jesus ends up saving it. That's the miracle of preservation. A lot of times we look at that and we just overlook that a miracle took place. There's things that you've gone through in your life that should not have happened, and you made it through. Why? Because he preserved you through whatever it is that you went through. That's the miracle of preservation. Preservation means to keep something from being lost, damaged, destroyed, or forgotten. In other words, it's protecting us. It's maintaining or sustaining something that still has value. It's kind of like food. They put things in food to preserve it, to get it to last longer, or so it doesn't spoil. You preserve memories so they're not forgotten. That's what I love about cameras and videos, because they literally preserve moments in time. It blows my mind how somebody could have come up with this device that actually captures moments of us, weddings, birthdays, kids growing up. Maybe it's a child being born, whatever it is. We've captured these moments. And we're able to save them. We're able to preserve them for later. Or maybe it's preserving your faith so it hasn't been shaken. Spiritually, preservation is when God keeps something. He keeps your peace or your purpose or your faith intact, even through the pressure and pain of life. And today I've got 3 points for you. I encourage you to take notes. They'll be on the screen behind me, that I want to help you understand what this miracle is all about, the miracle of preservation, and what Jesus is trying to teach us. The first point is Jesus preserved peace in the pressure. He preserved peace in the pressure. In Luke 22, verse 51, it says, Jesus said, "No more of this." He touched the man's ear and he healed him. So even in the middle of the chaos, in the middle of betrayal and fear, Jesus didn't fight back at all. He actually calmed the moment, which is crazy to me, because at any given moment, you're going to see in a minute in Matthew a whole different perspective of this same story. Is, Jesus is saying, hey, I could bring all these angels down and I could take you all out right now. But he didn't do that in this moment. Why? Because he was showing us of how he preserves things for you and I, for when we go through difficult times, because I promise you, you will. At some point in your life, you're going to go through some tough times. You're going to face adversity. Sometimes it's the most grueling, painful thing that you've ever gone through, and you're saying and asking yourself, how am I going to get through this? You get through it, you later look back, and you don't even know how you did it. And honestly, many people aren't even grateful for it because they're still dealing with that pain. But yet they're still here, and yet they're still functioning. That's the miracle of preservation. And I want to help you today have a different mindset when it comes to these problems, when it comes to these really, really hard times. And I'm going to get real with you today and personal. And it's going to be challenging, and it's going to be hard for you to chew this message up and swallow it. Some of you are going to be leaving here today chewing the cud, as they call it, for about a week before you might be able to swallow it, because it's going to be so challenging. Because I can guarantee you there's someone in the room that is struggling with this message, struggling to receive what God's trying to teach us. Peace looks like this when it's under pressure. It's not the absence of conflict, by the way. It's the presence of Jesus in the middle of conflict. We want conflict to go away. We want the adversity to disappear. But Jesus says, I am trying to teach you something through it. That's the hard part, isn't it? Trying to understand, why am I going through this? Why did I lose my job? Why did my marriage fail? Why has my child gone wayward? Why did I lose a child to the death way too early? What is God trying to teach me through that? And I wish I had the real answer. I have the answer, but I don't have the answer you're looking for. I don't have the answer that you want me to say, because you want something very specific of how it applies to you specifically in your life. You want me to be able to map out exactly what God's going to do through your pain, and I don't know the answer to that. But what I do know is that when you're in pain, there's purpose. What I do know is God is trying to teach you something, and He uses your pain for His purpose. And that's the hard part, because we don't know God's purpose in everything that He does or why He does it. But it could be for the fact that He wants you to become strong. I think no matter when we go through adversity in life, God is trying to shape us, mold us into a strong, faithful Christian, right? Have roots so deep that when the storms of life come, you don't get uprooted. I think that is a huge one for sure. But it's also the fact that it could be He's using your pain, your story, to affect someone else in their life. Someone who's going through what you're going through, or maybe even preserving what someone else might go through by looking at your story and what you did or did not do. There could be many reasons. The question I think I have for you today is, are you allowing whatever it is that God is trying to teach you, are you allowing it to teach you? Or are you still stuck in your pain? Are you so focused on your problem that you never get to see the purpose? Jesus is the Prince of Peace. I mean, think about it. How many times have we lashed out in frustration about what we're going through? How often do we fight to prove a point instead of preserving peace? This is where the peacemakers actually give us peace, because they will not have their way. They will not say how they really feel to have peace. I'm the complete opposite of that. Unfortunately and fortunately, because guess what? Peacemakers have a gift, but it's also a curse when they can't ever say what they want to do or what they want in life. They just preserve peace all the time. And so they go through and miss out on a lot of things because they don't want to cause a ruckus. And then you got people like me on the opposite end of the spectrum. is I leave a lot of collateral damage after I've given my opinion or my perspective. But I'm going to let you know what I think, and you know what you're going to get. So, I mean, you see what I'm saying? It's very difficult. But Jesus is showing us, even in these times of pressure, even in this time, he's giving us peace. The miracle of preservation can kind of look like this, God keeping your faith strong through the trials, or a marriage surviving when it really should have fallen apart. Or maybe it's a church becomes united through some type of a hardship. I mean, I just look at COVID, right? The lie that was spread to all of us about COVID, and yet the church is finally coming back. It's finally reuniting and gathering with millions across the nation. As a matter of fact, they say that young people are coming to faith more now than ever before. Why? Because of adversity, because of the pressure of ideology, the pressure of all the things that we're dealing with in our world. They're looking for truth, and the world has lied to them over and over and over. That's why the Bible says if you tell the truth will set you free. Or when you know the truth will set you free. And that's what they want. That's why you come to church. You may not like the truth. You may not like how it's delivered, but it's the truth. And when you know the truth will set you free. It's a preservation. It might look like your mind is staying sound despite the stress or pressure that you're going through. There's days where I've even said it, and people around me say, "Stop saying that. Stop confessing that over your life." And I'm like, "You're right. I got to stop saying it." And I'll say things like, "I'm losing my mind. I'm about to lose my mind over this. Why?" And they're like, "Quit saying that. You're confessing bad things over your life." And that's true. It is true. But we'll say those things. And maybe there's been times where you've had peace over something where you could have easily lost your mind. That's the miracle of preservation. I love the Bible when it really is very clear. Isaiah 46:4 says, "I will be your God throughout your lifetime. I made you, and I will care for you. I will carry you along and save you." Now, when I read that with a little bit of a struggle. And the reason why is because I think about if I'm going to read this and I see that he is my God throughout my lifetime, okay, that's good to know that no matter what, he's my God throughout life. But then he goes on and says, "I made you and I will care for you." Okay, that's great too. But then he goes and he says, "I'll carry you along and save you." Well, when I read that, I'm thinking saving me from adversity, saving me from pain, saving me from all these things. And that's the way we want to think about it, because it's like, God, you're saving me. Why did this happen? Just a couple weeks ago, I told you we lost a young lady in this church way too early. They celebrated her life on Saturday. And so we might be asking the question, why? Why did that have to happen? Why did my friend have to get cancer? Why did this person get this? And we start asking all these questions. And Lord, your word says that you'll save me through all this. And so it's a great question if you think about it, because that's why a lot of Christians struggle with their faith, because they think God's supposed to keep them from problems. But that's not what he says. The miracle of preservation is showing us that you will and can go through some very difficult times that you really shouldn't make it through, but God saved you through it. Then on top of it, because our little pea brains, as I might call it, we can't comprehend all that God has. We don't have full understanding of God's purpose. We don't know why this happened in order for that to happen. We don't have all that. But that's where trusting in the Lord comes into play. And what we tend to do is we take all these problems and we get mad at God and we stay stuck where we are. We quit the church, we quit leaving, we go on and we shake our fist at him. And the whole time God is like, "I'm saving you through this. I'm preserving you. And there's a reason why I'm preserving you. You have a testimony and a story that I can use in your life if you could just see the purpose and not the pain." And I'm not saying it's easy, but I'm going to tell you right now, not just being a pastor for the last 9 years, but also being in ministry for the last 25 years, I've seen a lot of people stay stuck in their life because all they do is whine and cry and complain about the hard times that they've gone through. And they can't see the purpose in their pain. And I will tell you, God has purpose for every person in this room. Psalm 121, verse 7 says, the Lord keeps you from all harm and watches over you. So there's another verse where you're like, wait a minute. Lord, you said you're keeping me from harm, but I'm harmed right now. My heart hurts. The Lord keeps watch over you as you come and go, both now and forever. Here's my second point, and that is Jesus preserved purpose in the pain. When you look at the synoptic gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, they tell the story a little bit different. Matthew shows the plan. Luke actually shows the heart. Luke is the physician, and he shows the heart of Jesus in this moment. Matthew is like, hey, this has to happen. And Luke is like, yeah, but even while it happens, Jesus is still healing because his heart is good. So even though you're going through your tough time, there's still purpose in that. Jesus has a purpose why he's allowing you. I mean, we all understand that good things happen to bad people, and bad things happen to good people all the time. God will allow something good to happen through a bad person to get his purpose across, and God will allow something bad to happen to good people in order to get his purpose across. And we don't know why he does that. He's God. He can do whatever he wants. And he can do it however he wants. And there's going to be times where God is going to do what he wants, whether you like it or not, whether you decide it or not, like Jonah, right? He was supposed to go to one city, but God swallowed him up by a big old fish and spit him out the one he was supposed to go to. God will make happen whatever he wants to happen, whether you want it to happen or not. And if we don't see that through the Bible by now, I don't know what is going to help you see that in the future. Matthew 26 says, put away your sword, Jesus told them. Those who use the sword will die by the sword. Don't you realize that I could ask my Father for thousands of angels to protect us, and he would send them instantly? But if I did, how would the scriptures be fulfilled that describe what must happen now? So here's Matthew showing us. You don't read this in Luke. In Luke, you read that he was healed. In Matthew, you see him saying, hey, this has to happen in order for Jesus to fulfill his purpose. Jesus has to die in order to fulfill the purpose. So when you look at that and you look at other people in the Bible, it's the same thing. He could have stopped everything, but he didn't. Why? Because he chose pain to preserve purpose. And you know what the enemy wants? He wants you to stay in your pain. He wants you to be stuck in your pain so it will derail you from your purpose. Because when you have no purpose in life, what do? You quit, you give up, you spiral, you self-destruct, you self-sabotage because there's no purpose. But when you have purpose, it changes everything. All of a sudden, you get a new drive, a new something, motivation, because now you've got a new purpose. That's why purpose is important. But he chose pain to preserve it. Jesus shows up because purpose is greater than pain. Even in betrayal, even in agony, he stayed focused on fulfilling the mission. And so when you're under pressure, don't let your pain make you quit. Let it push you closer to your purpose. The way you figure out your purpose is by seeking Jesus' face in, Lord, what is it that you're trying to teach me through this? What is it that you want me to learn through this pain? There's a hole in my life. I can't ever fill the hole. And you got purpose in this? Yes. Yes, he does. And I don't know what it is. Only you are going to know what it is. If you're seeking the Lord, he'll tell you. He'll show you. He'll speak to you. He'll use other people to show you. Pain is what you feel in the moment, but purpose is what lasts beyond the moment. It's what gets you through. Pain may shape you, but purpose defines you. So when you're going through pain, it's refining you for your purpose. And what we do is we tend to define it as protection, or it's keeping bad things from happening. But God says, no, protection as keeping his purpose intact, even when hard things happen. I think about death. And I do have what some people would consider a warped mindset when it comes to death, because of the way my mind processes it, the way my mind prepares. I pre-decide things. And after talking about it a little bit last week, and after one of our family members are dealing with it personally, plus my family is dealing with some things from my side of the family with some illness, we began discussing it. And I just started sharing with my daughter about how I felt about it. And she got a little bit upset at me because she's like, so what you're saying is that if I'm no longer here, your life is just going to go on. And I said, yes. I can't believe that. You're just cruel. And I said, well, what would you want it to do? Stop? Would you want me to be stuck? Curl up in a fetal position and not function? Do you think that would be my purpose? And she didn't really have anything to say. And I said, listen, I promise you I would deeply miss you. And there would be a hole in my life that I could never fulfill. But I need you to know that my life would go on because there's a purpose. And I'll get to see you again one day. This life we live is temporary. Now, can I just say, I've not been there. I've not experienced it at all. So I cannot tell you how I'm going to respond to that. But what I'm doing is I'm preparing my mind for what could happen and how I'm supposed to respond, because death to us here on this earth is the end. But it's not the end. It's actually the beginning of a new life in heaven without pain, without suffering, without hopelessness. Forever and ever and ever and ever. And that's why I know that my life here is temporary. And I'll get to see you again. And guess what? At least you don't have to grow up in this nonsense of a world that we live in. He preserved you from growing. You know, I have to look at the best. I don't know why God would do that, but did he do it to preserve that person from this? Is he doing it so we can learn a lesson to be strong? I don't know the answer. It could be all the above. But let me show you something when it comes to death. Jesus' death wasn't a defeat. It was a fulfillment of redemption. We wouldn't be saved without his death. Stephen's death wasn't the end. It actually sparked the Gospels being spread in Acts chapter 6 and 7. We wouldn't be where we are today if it wouldn't have been for Stephen's death. Because when a believer dies, their testimony often inspires others to faith. That's what it's supposed to do. So let me just kind of be real with you just for a moment about death. Because I would say that's probably one of the hardest things that we as human beings deal with while we're here on the earth is when someone passes away too early. Whether it's a child, a mom and dad, it doesn't matter. Whoever the person is too early, period. I would say that's probably one of the hardest that we deal with. And the thing of it is, none of us can ever fill that void back up. And people do. They try to fill it with alcohol or some type of an addiction. They fill it with a hobby. They fill it with money. They fill it with their job. They fill it with having more kids. They fill it with getting into relationships. They fill it with everything except the right thing. And that's why there's still pain. That's why they're still stuck. And I think about it. And I think about, like, I have family that has gone through things. I have sat with lots of people in front of me talking about how somebody got cancer, or this happened, or that happened. And I mean, we're talking about it. And what's really interesting is this right here, is you get someone that maybe gets told a bad doctor's report. And they get all these different ways that they can, do this and do that. And the person that's sick says, Well, I don't want to do that because I don't know really how much longer I will have, and I actually just want to live the best life I can with what I have left, and I want to live it with the best health that I can. I don't want to be sick going through treatments and then not make it, the risk. And it's okay if the person risks that, it's up to them. But when a person says, man, I've lived a good life. I have a family member right now, just so you can understand, get a little personal. I have a family member who's in their 60s that just got diagnosed. And their attitude is great. And the attitude is this: I've lived a good life. And if it's my time to go, it's my time to go. Well, what do you think the kids did? Freaked out. Because they don't want their dad to go. Normal response, isn't it? But what I don't think you might realize that happens to the other person, the one that's sick, is that we put the pressure on them to get everything we want them to do to be healed and to get fixed. But the person that's sick doesn't want it. And now they're torn. So they either got to either displease you by not doing it, or they got to be displeased by doing it. And in my head, I'm thinking what I would want, because the way my mind processes this, is I would want what they want. Whatever that is. You don't want treatment and you're just going to let life take you at the time that it's supposed to take you, and you're happy. Guess what? I'm going to celebrate that, and we're going to live the life. I'm not going to bring it back to your attention. I'm not going to constantly be calling you, are you okay? How you feeling? Da, da, da. I understand all that, but I'm just telling you, you got to put yourself, I've talked to many people in the shoes of the sick, and that's not what they're looking for. You know what they want more than anything is supported, loved. And you know what else they want? Is to talk about their memories, to help them cope. And you know what we do when someone passes away too soon? We don't want to go where they used to go. We don't want to wear what they used to wear. We don't want to vacation where they used to vacation. We don't want to eat where they used to eat, because it reminds us of them. Hello, that's the point, is for you not to forget. You're not supposed to forget. I'm going to go where they went. I'm going to do what they used to do. I'm going to remind myself of everything they used to be, because I'm going to celebrate their life as if, not what was. I speak to a lot of people about this. And I promise you, the miracle of preservation will get you through what you're going through. This is why Christians can mourn and be happy at the same time, because it's sad while we're here, but we're going to see him again in heaven. That's the only way we're able to do that. But if you don't have a mindset and understand that God will get you through it, the devil will keep you stuck where you are in your pain with no purpose in life, and you won't flourish. You won't be used the way God wants to use you. He's not saying it's easy. What he's saying is, I'll give you peace through it. What he's saying is, I'll give you the strength through it. He's not saying he's happy that you're going through it. He's just saying, I have a bigger purpose for you. You don't see it, you don't understand it, but I do, because I'm God. I created you. I know your purpose. That is a full trust in the Lord. Would everybody say amen to that? And how many know you don't get there overnight? That's a faith that you have to build up to. And the only way you get there is by beginning on the small things that you're going through that are hard. Trust the Lord. Lean not on your own understanding. That God has a purpose. What's the purpose? I don't know. I wish I knew what the purpose was. But here, Paul says, for our present troubles are small and won't last very long. Yet they produce for us a glory that vastly outweighs them and will last forever. What Paul's saying is, when we have pain, it hurts, but it's not forever. It's temporary. And he's trying to teach us that your pain is not pointless. It's producing something in you. You know what it's producing? Endurance, strength of character, a deeper reliance on God, a testimony that impacts others, a reward for eternity. I think about people that go through. I know people that have lost many, many people in their life, one after another, and you look at them and they're still standing, they're still worshiping God, they're not quitting, their mindset is good, their attitude is good, and you look at that and go, how? How are you able to do that? And they say, because my God's bigger than me. And that's hard when there's pain. And it's hard when you don't have a deep faith. This is why you need community. It's why we need each other. My mic going out? You're just doing what you're told, bro. That's good. You're going to make it in marriage one day. Marriage will last. Check a 1, 2. I don't know which one to use. Is it working without it? No. Somebody's playing games with me. Let me read Romans 5. It says, we can rejoice too when we run into problems and trials, for we know that they help us develop endurance, and endurance develops strength of character. Church, if you think that you're not ever going to go through any problems, you're mistaken. The Bible says it's not if, it's when. When problems come. James says, consider it pure joy. Paul says, when we run into problems and trials, know that they help us develop an endurance, a strength of character, a testimony to someone else who's going through it. You know, I think about people who's gone through really tough times. Like, for instance, we've had people that has lost their sons or daughters through suicide. Terrible. Terrible that you ever get to the place that you would end your life because of no hope. But it happens all the time. People lose hope. And those moms and dads or brothers and sisters that have experienced their siblings or sons or daughters, what they end up doing is they end up helping other people that are struggling with suicide, or they're either helping them deal with it after maybe someone else has parent, son, daughter did the same thing, or they're helping prevent it from happening. That's their purpose. And it's not like maybe God wanted that to happen. I would never say that. But he has a purpose in your pain. And almost every person that has a burden of something they've gone through, whatever it is, like my wife and I, for 30 years, we celebrate 30 years of marriage in February. And we went through hell the first 10 years of our marriage. And I can tell you right now, God preserved us through our marriage. We really shouldn't have been married after the first 5 years. But he preserved us. And because of that, what do you think my wife and I have? A heart for marriages. That's why we have Marriage 911. That's why we have marriage counseling. That's why we have marriage retreats. And that's why we have marriage conferences, because it's a burden for us. We don't want to see other people struggle through something we struggled through, that we can prevent it. Why? Do you change your oil after the motor blows up? You don't? Oh. So what you do is you change the oil so the motor don't blow up. Is that what you do? All right, so counseling isn't just for after your marriage is in shambles. Counseling is so your marriage doesn't get in shambles. It's the same thing. The burden of people. Here's my last point, and that is Jesus saved what was severed. When Jesus healed the man's ear, it wasn't just compassion, it was a prophetic act. And he was showing us that he restores what's been cut off. And maybe something's been severed from your life, a relationship, a dream, your confidence, your faith, whatever it is. You need to know that Jesus can touch it again and make it whole. The same hands that healed that man's ear is the same hands that stretched out on the cross for you. What was severed by sin can be saved by his sacrifice. That's the miracle of preservation. Jesus keeps what the enemy tries to destroy. And the enemy doesn't want you to succeed in your pain. He wants to keep you stuck. He wants you to wander around the desert for 40 years like the Israelites did. And I'll tell you, as a pastor, I'm just telling you right now, I've seen a lot of Christians that's been a Christian their whole life. They're still stuck. They're still stuck on that pain that happened when they were 20 or 15 or when they were 30, whatever it is. because they can't get past the problem. So they stay stuck in their pain. And the whole time God's like, I could heal you of that. I can get you through that if you would trust me, if you would know that I have a greater purpose in your life. It's not for you to be stuck. The enemy wants you stuck. So as we look at this final miracle of Jesus, here's what we learn. We learn that he preserved peace when he had every reason to panic. We learn that he preserved purpose when it would have been a lot easier to walk away. And we learn that he saved what was severed when everyone else wanted to fight. And he's doing the same for you today. Now, I want you to understand that I'm not saying it's easy. Whatever pain you're going through, whatever hurt you feel, whatever emotion you have, I'm not saying it's easy at all. I'm not you. I'm not going through what you're going through. Nor would I ever say that it would be easy. But what I am saying is there's a God who loves you and cares about you and wants to preserve you through your pain if you will allow him, so he can use you for his purpose. So if you're under pressure or in pain or feeling like something's been cut off, ask God for the miracle of preservation. I remember when I was going through a season of my life where there was some pain. The person sitting across from me said, well, you won't feel like this 25 years from now. I was a little bit hacked off. You want to know why? Because I was hurt. I was in pain. I couldn't see past the next 3 hours. And this person's like, well, from 25 years from now, you're not going to care. Well, you want to know what the truth is? He was right. He was right. 25 years from now, it's not going to be what it was. And I'm going to tell you, it's only been a few years, and it looks a lot different than I would have ever expected. Because that's the God we serve. And you know, this person knows that that's the kind of guy I am. I just need you to come and slap me right in the face. Not physically, by the way. This gives you no permission to physically do it. But definitely verbally. Just let me know what I need to hear. Because guess what? Whatever you're going through right now, I'm looking in the room and I'm looking at some of you right now that I know what you've gone through. And some of you, it's been 20 years or later. And I look at where you are today and it's not the same. It's not what you thought it would be. It's not that what has happened has gone away. It's just, it's better than what you thought. And here's what it reminds me of. It reminds me that when I look back over my life, I realize I'm not here because I was strong. I'm here because he kept me. The same God who sustained them is the same God who has sustained and kept me. The miracle wasn't that I just made it out. It's that I'm still standing. It's that I'm still moving forward, because what Jesus preserves cannot be lost. And when you stay in his peace or his purpose and his power, your story will give evidence of the goodness of God to everyone who hears it. Why? Because we serve the same God. Oh God, I need you now. That's all I can think about. How many of you need God right now in your life? How many need God to preserve your life? Would you just stand to your feet and let's just worship God with this song? Come on.